Hi there, I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent training. I'm live today to cover a number of words that have come up recently in our Word of the Day requests, and also I'll take your live questions regarding American English pronunciation. I apologize if you were here a moment ago. I didn't have sound, so please let me know if you're watching live if there's an issue with the sound, and we'll begin again. I was talking about the words land versus lend, and I have a number of videos that cover patterns like this. Land has the ah, black cat vowel. Symbol looks like that. Land. And lend has the red tent vowel. Lend symbol looks like this. And so I have a video about man versus men, and you can see more details there. But let's talk about the main difference and how to practice getting the difference between these two. So if we look at these vowels, first of all, the ah is more open than the eh. So I have the eh and the ah. This is like the front of the mouth. And then up high I have the I sound. So I might see words, for example, like tin, ten, and tan. And as I say those, tin, ten, tan, my mouth is more open and my tongue is lower for each of the sounds. So the lend word has the F vowel here, and land is more open. Because of the N sound, all of them may be a little bit higher than if I were saying, for example, bid, bed, bad. I have more opening on bed and bad than I do have on ten and tan. The N is lifted and my tongue is behind my teeth, so it raises the vowels. So when it comes to land and lend, you should feel more opening for the land than the lend, but it may be hard to make that contrast. What I suggest instead is practicing land together with another word with the black cat vowel. So for example, that, land, being able to match those two vowels, hear it and say it, feel it in the mouth, that can help you get land. Versus, for example, with lend, we might say pet, lend, We're going to match these vowels because they're both vowel eh. And then you'll see that between that and pet, I don't have too much of an issue, so I can be able to contrast those vowels more easily. So thank you for the request for land and lend. I have a number of requests I want to get to today that have come in recently from our Word of the Day series. As you know, if you've been watching the channel for a while, I have videos each day with your requests on specific words and pronunciation. I'll also take your questions live. So if you're here watching now, please feel free to leave your questions in the comments or in the chat, and we'll cover them as well. Nice to see you. Hopefully you guys can hear me now well. I came on a few minutes ago and my microphone apparently wasn't working, so I stopped that class and started this one. Okay, the next words I wanted to talk about were requested for the difference between bulk and bulb. And the challenge here with bulk and bulb is the difference at the end of the word. My bulk, I should feel my tongue lifting in the back, bulk. And both of them have the dark L sound. So it's going to be a schwa and an L. Kind of thinking about the sound might help you. So the back of the tongue stays down for that vowel and the front lifts for the L. And then when I go back, I have to lift again in the back, ulk, and lift the back of my tongue to finish the K. Versus bulb. I can leave the back of my tongue down and I close my lips for the B sound, and I release the B. These might be easier to practice in a short phrase. So for example, trying the bulk of them, that's going to sound more like bulk of. As I'm linking, that may help me put that K on the next word, the bulk of. versus, for example, the bulb is, that's going to sound more like bulb biz as I link it, and that can help you make that clear B versus that clear K in those two words. Great request, thank you. I also had a request for the words royal versus royale. So these are spelled differently, and they also have a different syllable stress pattern. In the word royal, I have first syllable stress. So my roy is long, and my ul is, again, that dark L, like in bulk and bulb. It's short. It's going to look like this in the IPA. Royal. And I would think of it kind of like royal. First syllable stress. The roy is long, and the yul is short. Versus Royale, like in Casino Royale, or it's also in other names, is going to have a short first syllable and a long stressed second syllable. Now, it doesn't follow the spelling rules. Normally, if we have an E, it would make the letter say its name, like the college called Yale has the A says an A sound. In this Royale, it's more of an A sound. So looking at the IPA, we would see the same oi diphthong in the first syllable, but no stress. And then we would have the stress before the yal syllable. There's our black cat vowel that we were just talking about with land. So I would build this one from the back. Try Yao, Al. I'm actually going to write that like the man's name, Al, because if I write A-L-L, you'll think all, which is the wrong vowel. So the man like Al, Albert, Al, Yal, Royale, Royale. So the spelling changes, the vowel sounds change, and the syllable stress changes in those two. Okay, let's see. Other requests that have come in. We had a request for the word conqueror. Hi, Halim. Nice to see you as well. So looking at conqueror, this is actually kind of a difficult word to say because of the multiple R's. Conqueror. And this viewer requested that I do this with American English versus British English. So for American English, conqueror, you're going to have first syllable stress. It's going to sound, letter O is going to sound like ah. So in the stressed first syllable, often we have a letter O saying the ah, the open vowel. Conquer. In this case, we don't have the qua that we often do with QU. Instead, we have a cur, conquer, just a K sound. And then this is an vowel. So unstressed conquer, two unstressed ers. I would rewrite it like conqueror, conqueror. I think the difference with British would be more, you'd have not tight American R's because these are the unstressed so they might say more like conqueror. But I'm not exactly sure on that one. I would have to look at my American versus British dictionary. Generally, the R in British English is more of an vowel coloring versus the tight American conqueror. We would do two ers, where they would do more two sounds potentially. Okay, yeah, that's definitely a challenging word. I can see why that one got requested. Ramon has a comment or a question about some people in the word already don't fully pronounce the dark L in the syllable all. Could you explain what's happening there? Yes. So in already, I'm already. They may say already. If you're saying it slowly, you're going to have that dark L already. Already. But it may be that some people use this ah vowel and they color the vowel already, where they're kind of just making the L sound, the first part of the L sound with their tongue. So rather than all, schwa, already, with a full complete L, they're going to just say more like already, which is going to sound more kind of like already. So thinking about it like the ah vowel, already. It's actually a little bit inaccurate, but it's tough to do the already with a full L. And I think that's just a natural way that people make it a little bit easier to say that word. That's a good observation. Hopefully that helps you hear the different ways it can sound. And I think you can get away with already instead of already without it being too noticeable. So that may be an easier way to say the word as well. Thanks for that suggestion or that request. Okay, keep those requests and comments coming if you're here live. I'm happy to talk about your comments. I have a little list I'm working through of past requests as well. There's been so many wonderful requests for our Word of the Day series. I'm just working my way through slowly all of your requests. So if you asked for something a couple months ago, it's still coming. And I'm going to do some more of those now today. So we had a request for the word inherited. And inherited, I would say one thing to watch out for is that even though it's spelled with ER in this word, we have the air diphthong. And so hair, it's going to be like the word hair, inherited. And that's where my stress is. So the in is short and unstressed. In hair. The T is between two vowel sounds, so it's going to sound like inherit or inhera. I'm going to have kind of a very light, unstressed syllable there. Inherited. So to inherit has the T, but then inherited has the flap here. One thing to note as well, that we have the word heir, like someone who inherits something is an heir. That's pronounced just the same as this air. So the H is silent, and even though the spelling is different, they both have the air diphthong. In the dictionary, in the IPA, you're going to see that diphthong look like that, air, inherited. Yeah, I think I kind of say inherited rather than inherited, not too dark on that unstressed vowel there. Hi, Dana. Nice to see you. So Santa versus Senta and salary and celery. Good questions. These are really nice ones. Maybe you caught at the beginning I was talking about land and lend, so that relates. So Santa versus Senta. I would say for Santa, one thing is that you will hear people say Santa with a true T. You're also going to hear them say Santa. That's just a typical American pronunciation to leave the T out in those NT words, in that kind of word. So we have the Santa. So that's one way you could distinguish them. You can also say Santa, in which case you would do a clear aspirated T, Santa. Again, we could try that Santa or black Santa, matching the A vowel. And then Senta, I sent a message. I'm actually wondering if we would also sometimes, because those are linked, drop that T as well. Thinking about it, I sent a message to, yeah, okay, we do. So there we're just looking at Senna or Senta. In fast connected speech, I might say, yeah, I sent a message to her. In slower speech, I sent a message. I would say here I'm a little more conscious of putting a T in versus in Santa, not as much, but you'll hear a mix of both. So one way to practice it, again, that Santa, and maybe Ben sent a message, or sent a message to them, matching your vowel in both of those. Great suggestion. Thank you, Dana. And then your other request was salary versus celery. So my salary has my vowel, and we ate some celery. So two things here. One, I would say we have vowels, right? We have, just like with Santa and Santa, or land and land, we have the al, sal, salary, and the l, cell, celery. So thinking about this one like celery, and this one like salary. I think the other thing is that with salary, my salary is fixed. I want to get an increase in my salary, versus celery. I think celery, I'm more likely to say it with reduction, like saying I put celery in the tuna salad, celery. So that way would be more like celery. I can say either. I think people may also say salary bonuses with really reducing that, but I think it's more likely in celery than in salary, because salary being, well, I guess celery is a noun too. I don't know. Couple of different options there. Again, main difference being vowels, but other options to notice for is if he's talking about maybe, let me see, he gave some salary perks, salary. Yeah, I guess we do reduce that one as well. Okay, so very similar, just the vowel differences. Thanks, Dana. That was another really great suggestion. Okay. Request for the word always. So we were just talking about already. In always, I always. Yeah, same kind of thing that we were talking about with already, that we may hear a full, complete L, always, just like I was saying the word all and the word ways. But we also might hear always, where it's a little more like an aw without the full L. I'm kind of keeping the back of the tongue down, not necessarily lifting all the way to my always, but rather always. And then watch out that my way is the diphthong A, and then I have a Z sound, always. I do have a video for always, I believe, but I'm not sure if I talk about that detail or not. That was on my mind because of the question about already. Okay, we have a question for entrepreneurship and miscellaneous. After class, I'm going to put some timestamps in pin a comment with timestamps telling you what I talked about in the class when, and I'm also going to put some links there. So I do have a video about entrepreneur and a video about miscellaneous to break those down for you in even more detail. Let's talk quickly though through your words. So for entrepreneurship, we have an additional syllable. So entrepreneurship, you're going to have, like the word on, thinking about that like on. TRE is going to be a schwa, tra, pra, nour, entrepreneurship or entrepreneurship. I would say probably in entrepreneurship. I'm going to use the clear because it's at the end, it's the stress syllable, entrepreneurship, entrepreneur. Yeah, entrepreneur has last syllable stress as well on the ner. But for whatever reason, I feel that I say it more like nour when it's entrepreneurship versus entrepreneurship. Yes, and then your other word was miscellaneous. You're giving me a spelling challenge. I have to make sure I don't mess up the spelling. Miscellaneous. So again, I think for this one, just breaking it down syllable by syllable, going slowly and then speeding it back up for each of these will be helpful. So miscellaneous, thinking about miss, lay, me, us. Miscellaneous. So the lay syllable is stressed. You can just build those up slowly then. Miscellaneous, miscellaneous. Another suggestion I have for these kinds of longer words is to start with the stressed syllable. So for miscellaneous, you would start on lay, just to give your brain the idea that that's the important and stretched syllable. So try lanius, selenius, miscellaneous. What you want is that this miss-up is very short. You're not spending much time on it. You're stretching on the lay, miscellay. And then the nius is, again, also very short, miscellaneous. Yeah, okay. And then, of course, as I always say in my Word of the Day videos, practice the word by itself, then practice some short phrases. Because what you'll find is, you go through it, you rehearse, you get the sounds, you get the syllable stress, you're feeling pretty confident on the word. Then you go to speak and use it, and it may not come out that new way because we rely on motor habits for speech. So you need to build it up and get it to come into more and more natural speech patterns by practicing that. Great. Okay. Halim wants to know about the word basin. Let's look at your word. So basin has first syllable stress. The bay is long and the sin is short. This base is just like the word base, like a compound or home base, basin. And then we just have a syllabic end. So just really no vowel here for the I, just basin, basin. I'm going to go right from that S to the N sound. In the dictionary, you're going to see it like this, diphthong A, SN, basin. So the wash basin, a basin for that. Yeah. Thank you, Halim. We also have a question about said and sad. Okay, so great. That's just along our same theme. We were talking about land and lend, Santa and Senta. So for said and sad, I'll put sad here first because that's like our Santa and land. It has the A vowel. Said has the eh vowel. And if you can't hear the difference, you can watch for a difference, like I'm feeling sad, looking for a little bit more mouth opening. That's what he said, a little bit more central. Another thing to work on is matching it with another word. So, for example, like we were talking about with our other words, trying that's sad, feeling the openness of both a vowels. That's sad. Or Ted said, or if Ted's not a familiar word for you, I just used it because it's a name. You could say, perhaps my head said, or red said. Visualizing that as an E and thinking about keeping the mouth really central can help, because between that and red, you're not going to necessarily have too much difficulty. It's because the surrounding sounds are the same in sad and said that it's harder to hear that difference. That's sad. My head said. Hopefully that can help you hear that. Typically, just focusing in on one vowel at a time, listening to lots of words and practicing lots of words with a particular vowel sound will help, and then move to the next sound. Your brain will begin to be able to hear those differences. For many non-native speakers, your home language has an E, and maybe it has an ah back here, but it might not have an I, eh, or an a. Probably has an A out here. And so these three vowels are all going to be brought in when you hear, for example, it might be hard to hear between live and leave. You have kind of one category for those. For said and sad, both of those maybe go, said might be a little bit more like A in your hearing and listening. Sad might be a little more like ah, because you use these anchor points that you have in your brain from your native language. And when you have these sort of lax front vowels that aren't in your native language, it can be very hard to distinguish between them in listening. Over time, your brain will develop a way of filtering those and hearing those differences. I do recommend my Sounds of English course for learning about all those different vowel sounds, learning what words they're in, developing your listening practice to be able to tell the difference and how to use them. The process of changing your speech and understanding and using vowels correctly is about hearing models and feeling what happens in your mouth, hearing your own voice saying it, and getting a feedback loop of, yes, that's correct, that's how it should be, and forming those kind of magnet points in your brain for what the vowel sounds are like. So that's been a theme throughout this class. These are great questions, and thank you so much for allowing me to talk about that a little bit. I do recommend my Sounds of English course. That's on speechmodification.com. It's just $2, but it's a great way to work through all of the different sounds of English and get a little bit stronger on being able to hear and say those differences easily. Thank you. All right. Question about the word Massachusetts. I do have a video for this one that I will put in the comments after class so you can see in more detail. Massachusetts, one of the challenges is spelling it, right? Massachusetts. So I would just break it up syllable by syllable. Sounds like ah in the first syllable. Mass. This letter A says This CHU says chew. So you can think about that like this, or like the word chew, whichever one is easier for you to visualize. Massachusetts. And then we have kind of a sits at the end. Massachusetts, stress on the chew. So build up from the stress syllable. Chew, Massachusetts, Massachusetts. Great. Dana wants to know, where does resonate for back of the letter word, front of the tongue, in the throat? Not as central as red 10th vowel. So for some people bring it pretty far forward and it's a little bit nasal, like You don't want to get too high and too nasal. I would say, thinking about it being very forward, the might be slightly more central. If I'm kind of doing I think the difference is the back of my tongue might be lifting more. So the shape of my tongue in my mouth for is a little bit flatter. Like maybe there's resonance kind of here in the front and central. And for I feel like my jaw has to be more open, but the back of my tongue might be more lifted. So the resonance is more down, kind of forward. That's why it gets a little nasal for some people, because if the back of the tongue is lifting, and some air resonates in the nose and very far forward. I think that's kind of where you'll feel it. And for a lot of people, hearing and feeling the contrast between like hot, and like hat. I'm hot when I wear the hat. So you can feel and hear how it comes much more forward. Hot, I have a lot more oral resonance. Hat, I have a lot more nasal and kind of here in the open front resonance. I hope that diagram is not too confusing. I'm basically relying on something I use in my online courses. I guess I have a copy here I can show you that breaks down all of the sounds of English, looking at the tongue position. So it's all about my tongue. If this was the side of my face, these sounds are in the front, like and and My tongue is forward and the resonance is forward, and and ooh, the resonance is further back. So this is kind of representation of the shapes. In my Sounds of English course and in my vowels playlist, I have a video that explains kind of tongue position and resonance for vowels and kind of gives you a way of visualizing all the different sounds. And So when I'm drawing those strange little drawings, I'm referring to kind of a bigger picture that I use to teach all of the different vowel sounds that represent where we make them in the mouth. Welcome, Tobias, Danish speaker. I love the Danish language. Thank you for being here. We have a request for the word pointed. So pointed, just like we were talking about with Santa, I may or may not say that T sound. I might say more like pointed, or I might say pointed. Both are okay. You're going to hear a lot of native speakers leaving that T out and saying more pointed. The oi diphthong in this word is just like in coin or boy. If you think about it, try saying poi by itself first, and that'll help you get the length for the oi. Then add your N, poin, pointed, pointed. So the last syllable just has an I and a D, pointed. I pointed it out, pointed. You can also say pointed. I pointed it out. Both are acceptable, and you'll often hear that without the T from native speakers. Okay, a few more questions, and then we'll wrap up for today. It's so nice to see so many of you here live in this bonus class. Thank you for being here today. So we had a request for imperialist, imperialism, regime, colonialist, colonialism. Okay, quite a few. So let's just go kind of give you the quick scatter shot on yours. So for imperialist and imperialism, you're going to have second syllable stress. So building from that, you have the ear diphthong, peer, then a light short im, imper. Eel, we have imperial, an E, tense E, and the dark L with a schwa. Imperial, ul, and then lastly our ist or our ism, Z, not M, ism, spelled with letter S, but a Z sound. Imperialist, imperialism. For colonialist, colonialist, we have second syllable stress. So this CO says the schwa, ka, lo, ni, o, ist, or ism, colonialism, colonialist. And for regime, regime, this one is a little different and tricky because my J says the zh sound, like in measure. Sometimes it's spelled with S, and this word is spelled with a G. So thinking of that as like a ZH, the sound is zh. You can think about the SH sound, sh, and then turn your voice on, zh, regime. So we have an I or an sound for that first syllable, r or r, and then this IME says im, tense E sound, regime. Again, you can try starting with the zh, but we don't have words really that start with zh except for like genre. But regime, regime. Yeah, that's a very good suggestion. That's a tough one. And your words all go together. So I'm sure that's something thematic that you're talking about or learning about. Thank you. Okay, so Tobias is saying, the problem is I'm saying both words like sad, sad, and said. He says he's saying them like sat. So this one, you don't want the a vowel. You definitely want to get into the vowel. So visualizing it like said is going to help you. For the T versus D, sad is going to be a longer vowel than sat. When we have a voice sound like d at the end, we hold the vowel longer. And that's how you can tell if I'm saying sat or sad, even when I don't release those. So when I say sat and sad, I don't typically say sat with a released T or sad with a released D. I just stop the air for both. Sat, sad, The difference is for sad, I'm holding it longer, and sat, I'm holding it shorter. And then also when we link, we may or may not hear a difference. Like if I say, I sat there, I'm going to make a stopped T on released. If I say, I sat on it, it is going to sound just like sad. Because when I link, that T turns more to a D. Sat on it, I sat on it. But my vowel is going to be a little shorter than if I say I was sad about it, I still link and have sad about with that flap, but my is longer. I said it. Thinking about that, maybe more like this. I said it. I said that. You're going to have kind of a said that. You might also think about the word set as well. Listening, practicing, getting used to those vowels is going to help. It is challenging initially to make a difference with these different sounds, but you will get there eventually. Great. Okay, so we had a request for career and for literally. What I'm going to do is after class, I'm going to give you links for my videos for both of those. I have covered both career and literally in pretty extensive detail in those videos. So come back in a little bit, check the comments, and you'll get a link. Or you can go to my channel page, Speech Modification Seattle, and use the search box on the page, type in your word, and you can see those videos. Also, many of these videos are on speechmodification.com. If you go to our free practice area and use the search box, you can type in your word. And if I have a lesson about your word, you'll find the video there as well as some additional explanation. I do have a word of the day course on speechmodification.com as well that has all of our word of the day videos with these videos and then some additional definitions and resources for you. So check those out. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. It was wonderful to see you all. I'll be back again tomorrow with our Word of the Day class, and we'll have another live question and answer class on Friday at our usual time, 12 o'clock Seattle time, 3 o'clock Eastern time. I hope you can attend. Thanks for the channel membership support, those of you who have joined as channel members, and of course, subscribers. I appreciate it very much, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye, everyone. Thanks for being here today.